Alabama loses to Ole Miss in its first game in the SEC tournament on Friday the 13th as Alabama likely blows its chance for a three-seed in NCAA tournament. Now we wait until Sunday to see where Alabama falls in the bracket reveal. Welcome to another episode of the Bamateur Hour podcast. I'm Bama John. Today is Friday, March 13th, 2026 in the year of our Lord. Thank you for tuning in. We have over 8,900 subscribers to the YouTube channel. We're headed to 10,000. It is March Madness. March Madness is upon us. It is Friday the 13th, and it was truly unlucky for Alabama as they lose to Ole Miss 80-79. As Ole Miss jumped on Alabama early, led the whole way. Bama made it close at the end, but could not get over the hump and steal the win. Bama is playing for seeding. Now it's likely relegated to a 4 seed. I was hoping Alabama could get a 3 seed, but I just don't think that's going to happen. This game really was a big upset. Ole Miss was the 15th seed in the tournament, and they defeated the number 2 seed. Alabama had a great regular season and came in, and Ole Miss caught fire as Ole Miss has now won 3 games in a row. They're into the semifinals, and Ole Miss is trying to be a bid stealer because Ole Miss is not going to make the tournament. And in order for them to make the tournament, they have to win the SEC tournament. So next up will be either Arkansas or Oklahoma for them. If they win that game, then they'll get to play Florida in the finals of the SEC tournament in all likelihood. Could be Vanderbilt, but likely to be Florida. But Ole Miss has got to run the tables if they want to make the tournament. If they do, they're going to steal a bid. Alabama's in the tournament, but unfortunately, I think this loss drops them from a 3 seed to a 4 seed, and that's really, really unfortunate. The Rebels, as I said, have now played 3 games in 3 days. And they led for 39 minutes of the contest. They were never behind. They came out, they jumped on Alabama, and they won it. And they went wire to wire once they took the lead. They never relinquished the lead. Alabama was able to make it close at the end and get it down to a 1-point game, but Alabama falls short, loses 80-79. Ole Miss maintained a consistent rebounding edge, and they shot 47% from the field as they were able to keep Alabama at bay and get the win. In the first half, Ole Miss jumped on Alabama early to get a 9-5 lead. They built it up to a 14-point advantage. They went into halftime up 7, and they used a lockdown defense to deny Alabama good looks from threes and to deny them easy shots at the rim as Ole Miss forced Alabama to take tough 2s or force 3s and didn't let Alabama get any easy looks from 3 for most of the game, and also didn't let them get to the rim easily and forced them. If they were going to get shots, they were going to have to take long 2s, tough 2s, and Alabama just couldn't make it happen as the Ole Miss Bigs overwhelmed the Alabama Bigs, and the Alabama guards were not good enough to overcome that. And meanwhile, Ole Miss also shot the ball well from the field as Alabama's defense was just not good enough as well. And Alabama made clutch shots whenever Alabama seemed poised to take the lead. Then Ole Miss would come up with a great play, make a tough shot, score the ball, and keep the lead. And then on the defensive end at the end of the game as well, Ole Miss made the key defensive plays when they needed to stop Alabama. Whenever Alabama seemed to go on a run, then Ole Miss would get into the timeout. You could see Chris Beard just giving it to the players. They'd come out fired up, make a key play, and they made enough defensive plays at critical times to secure the win and keep Alabama from stealing one like Alabama did at Tennessee. In the second half, after being down 6, the Rebels kept the lead up to 13 points with about 13 minutes to go as Eduardo Klafke made a 3-pointer. Then Alabama launched a comeback fueled on a 7-0 run, and they cut the lead to 4 with under 9 minutes to go, and they kept getting close, getting it down to 4 to 3 to 2, and ultimately to 1 at the end of the game. But Alabama just couldn't make the key plays when they needed to. Every time Alabama cut the lead, threatened to pull out a win, Ole Miss would make a timely basket on the offensive end of the floor, and then on defense, they'd come up with the key play, a block at the rim, a turnover, force Alabama into a bad shot, and then Alabama wouldn't be able to convert. And Ole Miss pulls the win out. And in the last seconds of the shot, Labaron Philon hits 2 free throws to get Alabama with one. Then Ole Miss misses a free throw with 9 seconds to go. Alabama comes down the floor. Philon drives the ball to the basket. They force the ball out of Philon's hands. He gets it to Aiden Sherrell at the rim, but he wasn't able to convert as Ole Miss Bigs collapsed on Sherrell, didn't foul him, or at least the foul was not called. There's probably some contact, but it's questionable whether or not it was a foul. But Sherrell couldn't convert at the rim. Ball gets turned over. Ole Miss secures the ball, goes the other way. Alabama fouls them with basically no time on the clock. Ole Miss misses the free throw. Alabama puts the ball in the backcourt, throws the ball to half court with less than a second left. Alabama doesn't get a good shot off and really doesn't get the shot off even before the clock had run out and loses the game. So really, really tough loss for Alabama. Like I said, hurts their seeding, puts them in a 4 seed, which is a shame. If Alabama could have come up with the 3 seed, they would have had a really good shot to make the Elite Eight and potentially just if you have to just win one game, maybe make the Final Four. But now they're going to probably be locked in at a 4 seed. They'll have to play a 1 seed in all likelihood in the Sweet 16. And those projected 1 seeds just have all the elements that Alabama does not like in terms of having bigs, having good guard play, just having well-rounded teams. It's probably going to be the end of the road for Alabama in the Sweet 16. Maybe they'll get lucky and make the Elite Eight, but things aren't looking good. So key performers for Ole Miss, A.J. Storrs had 17 points as he led Ole Miss in this upset win. Elias Camardine from Ole Miss scored 16 points, and he had 14 in the second half as Camardine made just key basket after key basket when Ole Miss needed points as Alabama was trying to steal a win. He came up with big shot after big shot, and then Malik Dia, particularly in the first half, he had 14 points as he led them early. And then he had the massive late game block on Sherrell at the rim as Sherrell got the ball, had a chance to score, couldn't draw the foul, couldn't convert at the rim. Ole Miss gets the win. For Alabama, Labaron Philon had 28 points as he went 5 for 7 from 3, but he couldn't get the key baskets at the end of the game when Alabama needed to convert if they were going to get the win. Aiden Holloway had 18 points. So for this victory, Ole Miss is 15-19. They're now in the SEC semifinals, play their Arkansas or Oklahoma, but Ole Miss just needs to keep winning, and they need to win the SEC tournament if they want to get into the NCAA tournament. If they don't win the NCAA, if they don't win the SEC tournament, they're not going to play in a postseason tournament because they have a losing record. But Ole Miss has gotten hot. Let's see if they can close the deal and win 2 more games. It's going to be a tough ask, particularly if they have to play Florida in the finals. But we'll see. Strange things happen in March Madness. That's why they call it March Madness. Exciting for Ole Miss, tough for Alabama. And then, unfortunately, the Alabama loss likely knocks them from a 3 seed down to a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. We'll find out more as the bracket reveal comes out on Sunday, but really, really tough loss. Star of the game for Alabama was Labaron Philon. He had 28 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 turnover. He came up big in the second half when Alabama needed to get points and try to get back in the game, but just wasn't quite good enough to get him over the hurdle and get him over the hump and allow Alabama to steal a win when, quite honestly, Ole Miss outplayed Alabama, out-toughed Alabama. Their bigs put it to Alabama. And just Alabama, the weaknesses in Alabama's team came out in this game, and Ole Miss played to their strengths. Hats off to Chris Beard for coaching a great game, and Alabama just couldn't come back and steal one. Other notable players for Alabama, Latrell Wrightsell had 8 points. He had 7 rebounds, 1 steal, and only 1 turnover. Was not a great game for Wrightsell. But he was in there doing what he could. Aiden Holloway had 18 points, 1 assist, and no turnover. Aiden Sherrell had 14 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 blocks, and 2 turnovers as he manned the post, and he fought hard against the Ole Miss bigs, but really didn't have a lot of help down low in the low post, and that's a problem. And then when Aiden Sherrell got the ball on the offensive end, he had opportunities to get dunks, to finish at the rim, and he just could not convert at the rim when Alabama needed an extra 2 points, an extra point, an extra 4 points from him. He just couldn't finish the rim. He's just not skilled enough around the basket, not good enough, couldn't convert when we needed him to, and Alabama comes up a bit short. Amari Allen had a tough night scoring, had only 5 points, but he did have 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and no turnover, as Amari Allen definitely helped the cause, but certainly wasn't able to score and help Alabama when we needed points. Highlight of the game was Philon playing well, getting Alabama close to the end and scoring 28 points, and then Holloway supporting Philon's efforts as he had 18 points, as those two guys were really the main cogs who were able to score when Alabama needed to get this game back to close and to give Alabama a chance to win at the end, but they couldn't get it done. Issues: Alabama could not get key defensive stops when needed, as Ole Miss scored easily for much of the game in the half court. And then when Ole Miss needed to score key baskets in the last 3 minutes of the game, they were able to get it done. They were able to score. They were able to shoot over the Alabama short guards, get baskets, do what they needed to do to secure the win. And Alabama's defense just wasn't good enough. The Ole Miss Bigs also pounded the Alabama Bigs on both ends of the court, as Ole Miss out-rebounded Alabama 42-36. And they also held Alabama to just 41% from the field and 31% from three. Here are the stats of the game. Alabama made 26 field goals to just 30, Alabama made 26 field goals while Ole Miss made 31 field goals. Ole Miss scored more easily, scored more often. Alabama shot 41% from the field while Ole Miss shot 46% from the field. Alabama was held to 31% from three while Ole Miss shot 42% from three. Alabama did stay close in the game by making 18 of 25 free throws, while Ole Miss just made 10 of 15. Of course, Alabama missing 7 free throws. Had they been able to make 2 or 3 more free throws, they pull the game out and get the win. But anyway, it was the free throw discrepancy, and Alabama's able to convert and make 8 more free throws that kept them close in the game and allowed them to be there at the end. Alabama never led in this game. Ole Miss took the lead early, and then they led throughout the game. They had a 13-point lead in the second half. Somehow Alabama made it close, led by Philon and Holloway, and they had their chances to steal a win, but Ole Miss just made the plays they needed to at the end of the game to secure the win. So where are we now? Alabama's going to find out next up. Alabama's going to find out on Sunday what their seeding is, where they sit in the bracket, when and where they play. And then Alabama will have a first-round game either on Thursday or Friday of this coming week. March Madness is in full swing. Alabama's positioned to make another run at the Sweet 16. But if Alabama ends up as a 4 seed, as they likely will, making the Elite 8 will be really, really tough. Making the Final Four, no matter what seed they get, is going to be really, really hard for Alabama. Just the lack of depth in the front court, the lack of quality, high quality bigs in the front court. It's just a weakness that Alabama can't overcome. And Alabama's best scoring lineup is usually a smaller lineup with Sherrell only being the really big man in the game. And then with Amari Allen having to play at the 4 slot. And that just makes Alabama a small team. And it's just going to be hard for them to make a Final Four run this year. I do think we're a Sweet 16 caliber team, should make the Sweet 16, maybe can make the Elite 8, but probably going to be the end of the road at Sweet 16. So here's where we are right now. And let's talk about why it's going to be really hard for Alabama to make the Final Four this season. Here are the 5 reasons why it's going to be hard for them to make the Final Four. Number 1, lack of size, skill, and depth in the front court. Sherrell's really the only true front court presence we can count on. Amari Allen is not a big. He is a stretch power forward, or he is a wing player. He's playing out of position, having to play forward. He really would work better as a wing player and a 3 if we had a true power forward, but we don't, so he's having to do it. And then that just makes us weak in the front court. Also, Alabama's inability to stop high-powered teams such as Florida, Arizona, Gonzaga, Michigan, Duke, and Ole Miss tonight. Ole Miss showed up as Ole Miss's bigs dominated the Bama bigs, and it is really going to be the lack of height, the lack of skill, the lack of speed, athleticism, defensive prowess, offensive in our front court is going to be our undoing, and why we can't win a national championship, why we likely cannot make the Final Four. The third issue is Alabama's inability to score effectively in the paint. We do not have any post players that are good, that you can feed the ball into the post and they're going to score effectively. As shown at the end of the game where Philon dished the ball off to Aiden Sherrell, he couldn't convert once he got the ball. He couldn't catch the ball, go up quickly enough. He didn't have a good enough hops. He didn't have a good enough strength and a good enough post moves to score effectively in the post when given the opportunity. And certainly Amari Allen doesn't have that capability either. And then our guards are effective in the post, in the mid-range and the like, but when they get in there against guys that are 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", Philon, Holloway, they get their shots blocked when they're at the rim. So they have to pull up in the mid-range to score effectively over those big players. Also, Alabama's rebounding issues are going to kill them, and we just can't beat those teams with really stout front courts because we just can't hit the glass effectively and get out rebounded. And the final reason the number 5 reason why Alabama is not going to make it to the Final Four is we just can't count on our guards and wings to carry us and overcome the front court issues. It's just not enough. We're not strong enough in the back court to overcome that when we hit these really high-level teams. Alabama is certainly one of the 10 or 15 best teams in the country, but we're not as strong as the top 5 to 6 teams in the country. We have better front court players and have more front court depth. It's going to be an exciting NCAA tournament with Bama in contention to make the Sweet 16 and possibly make the Elite 8, but they're certainly an underdog to make the Final Four. Love March Madness, love the tournament. I'll be rooting on Alabama. I'll be rooting on North Carolina. I'll be rooting on Vanderbilt. It'll be fun. We'll be watching, and we will report back after the bracket's out and give you a look at Alabama's path in the bracket, who they face first round, who they face second round, their path to the Final Four. That's it for now. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, follow, like, and hit the notify button wherever you listen to or wherever you watch the podcast, wherever you stream us. We appreciate you. God bless, and roll Tide.